every sector that wants to do good things for the society, but why it is so hard to find the sweet spot in the middle to solve the problem together and create solution together. Today it's 22nd April 2026. I'm back in Edinburgh and the spring has come. Yay! Such a wind, believe it or not. The sunshine just goes through my window. I'm recording under the sunshine. Oh my god, after months of gloomy and gray. Anyway, I just came back from London after attending Chevening Conference. This episode is for Scotland who based outside London and for those who wish to attend but they couldn't make it for any reasons, travel, ticket limited, so on and so forth. I hope with technology we can still share our idea and perspective together. And of course, this episode is also for family and friends who has been asking me what I was talking about on the conference because they have seen me like prepare, doing this and that. Yeah, I hope my family and friends, you find this topic interesting and hopefully you get to know what I'm doing. You know, family and friends, a lot of time they don't know what I'm doing, but I love them because they show support anyway, anyhow, to support what I'm doing. Right. For the next 15 minutes, you will hear my talk recorded on the day. The talk was about reimagining entrepreneur ecosystem, design as a common language. The talk is mainly drawing on my experience from political campaign in Taiwan to social impact organizations, particularly nonprofit organizations, and now an entrepreneur per se. And I am a brand designer owning a design studio, explore how entrepreneurship and design can merge together to drive changes financially and socially. I believe every policy shift, community initiatives, and organization changes at its core is a design decision. You will hear the project I have worked in Taiwan. Hopefully, you will find them related and transferable to your own context, your own culture, and your own professional background. Honestly, I was so nervous. You can definitely feel that nervousness. Thankfully, the room, the audience was so engaging. I felt more comfortable after the first few minutes. I tried to avoid my voice shaking. So for the rest of the talk, it was fine. Anyway, hope the sharing bring you some new perspectives, new sparkles, no matter what your role is and what sector or industry you are in right now at the moment. Without further ado, here's the talk of the day. Good morning and good afternoon. Today's topic is reimagining entrepreneur ecosystem. Well, unfortunately, I won't be telling you how to make a good fortune from a business idea or how to build a million unicorn startup, simply because I don't know either. Otherwise, yeah. So today we will draw on the spirit of entrepreneurship, which focus on solving problems that we deeply cared about. So when we see problems, we often point finger at each other by saying, this is their fault, this is government's problem, this is business responsibility, etc., etc. Now I'm thinking, every sector that wants to do good things for the society, but why it is so hard to find the sweet spot in the middle to solve the problem together and create solution together. We often talk about three sectors: public sectors. Some of you might working in public sector that's setting rules, having the responsibility to protect everyone in the country. Some of us may work in private sector, providing products, services, and basically make the market move. While some of us might work in third sector, which is fighting for people who have left behind by the other two sectors or ignored by the system. However, I know each of us wanted to do social impact for the society. Why I know so? Because I live in those three sectors. So I am Yu-Wen. I'm probably from Taiwan. And for the over past few years, I have the privilege to get insider perspectives and insider views from those three sectors. With the politics and international relationship background, I work in foreign embassies consular sector and run political campaign for our president and our local MP. I witnessed good and larger scale of changes due to policy making for general public. However, when we discover there are some underrepresented or marginalized group of people were excluded by the policy, with the respect of the regulation and the democratic procedure, the changes came slow. Therefore, I put myself into third sector, which is the front line of those who are underrepresented or marginalized. I work in an NGO that advocated innovative education in suburban area in Taiwan. Regardless how impactful those projects were, we still need a lot of resources to implement those projects, particularly budget and money. Therefore, instantly, I jump into private sector and start to discover it a little bit because that's the sector where I assume money comes from. I started to learn how to communicate with them. And honestly, the world was alien to me. And now I study in business school at University of Edinburgh. The more I research and the more I interact with this sector, I found that actually business want to do good things and want to contribute to the society while maintaining enough profit for their own operation. That's the moment I start to think about why those three sectors is so difficult to build something together. And then when I look at today's program, I found that around 80 or 90% of the presentation mentioning the same verb, design. Design something for the community, create a better future, etc., etc. So here's my proposal. What if design can be the common language for those three sectors, including private, public, and third sector, to work together and become a common language that we can build a solution together? Design is actually, as a concept, not only about art or aesthetic, but also how we make decisions intentionally and inclusively, then most important, central on the people that we are building for. I know that not everyone in this room working out will start a company, but what I know is every single one of us will make design decisions that affects somebody else's life hugely, whether through a policy, whether it's a community program or any kind of initiatives. Design is a concept that can travel further across the border of different sectors. I'm not saying we're going to abandon the spirit of entrepreneurship and replace it by design, but think of it, the spirit actually overlapping. Design and entrepreneurship, they are user-centric and they're flexible for iterative. And then they're starting the idea small. What does design as a common language will look like? I break down into 3 principles I would love to share with you. The first principle, talk to your users. There was a situation in Taiwan that you might find familiar with in your own context. The government care about sustainability education, school care about it, teacher care about it, my organization care about it. Basically, everybody cares about it, but nothing was moving. The entire process of designing this policy, never has someone stopped it to ask the one who actually gonna deliver this content in the classroom, the teachers. They were excluded from the discussion. Teachers, they were not resist simply because their schedule was so packed and they're exhausted. And now somewhere far away, sitting in the office, came to them and say, hey, you need to do more. My organization back off a little bit, and then we start to talk to the teachers. The soon we talk to the teachers, we realize that actually in their day-to-day teaching life, they always have a teaching handbook in their hands so that can have everything in one, all-in-one toolkit. That's where we started. We started to work with teachers and major publishers to combine the sustainability contents into that teaching handbook so they don't need to have like add on that to make another burden for them. Then from a small idea demo and all the way to reach over 2,000 schools in the country, this milestone was only possible because we finally talked to the right people and then value their lived experience. After talking to your users, to the people affected because your idea, now knowing deeper about what the problem is, here comes the second principle. The second principle is starting from something small. You don't need $1 million to start it. All you need is a small and clear demo that is solid enough to show that your idea is validated. Let me give you an example. There is a bakery in my hometown. They dream bigger than just selling breads, selling pastry. They wanted to become a community hub. But they didn't start it to build a physical places. They started with so they make a cake that using what they're good at, baking, and then using the resources that they already have already, including locally grown fruits and other local ingredients such as milk, honey, etc. And the cake started getting attention. The community talk about it, people bought it. Then something unexpected happened. The local government, who has been trying so hard to promote their agricultural products, approaching them, not the other way around. And then after the conversation of the bakery and the local government, they developed a new product that is using the local grown rices. This product is specifically perfect for souvenir, so that the community visit the bakery more often and buy this as a gift for friends outside of the town. The community become truly proud of. Therefore, they started to support the events or any initiatives that this bakery hosts. These places become a place that celebrate local farmers and celebrate their identity building on agriculture. Here comes two principles already. Talk to your users and then starting from something small. Once you got the validate idea, that make sure that your idea is actually working in the context. Now, principle number 3, invited diverse talents on board. Not just job titles, but people actually can bring different life experience and then different sectors knowledge, and also, most important, different ways of solving problems on board. Think of it like biology. The word ecosystem comes from nature. In nature, if you remove one single species, you will make the system damaged or fragile.
The more intention we invite different perspective in, but not just for box ticking or reporting, the stronger our idea that we are building on will become. Here's the thing I have seen: when a system embraces diversity, it will create a pool. The system will attract more and more talents. That means more energy, more momentum, because simply people want to be included and be part of an inclusive and collaborative environment. Wrapping up the 3 principles again: talking to your users, and then start from something small. Last but least, invite diverse talents. One last thing to wrap up the talk, I would love to share a quote with you. Give me a place to stand. I should move the us. It's very scientific. I know I'm not from that area, but I would say the language is the most powerful places to stand, because where we stand will shape how we see things and what we see from that place, including the problems, the people affected, and the solution we thought possible. And from there, we create a collective identity of who we are and why we are here and what we are creating. Those are building on collective wisdom from talking to users, shareholders, and professions across different professions. Design can be that language, because design simply has been used by every sector, and we have been live with it for so long. But now what we need to do is use it intentionally and inclusively, and use it together.
I hope you have enjoyed the talk. After the talk, there was a Q&A section led by our academic facilitator, Jessica, from Loughborough University, London. She's amazing! Again, the room was so engaging, and the questions from the floor were very interesting. For example, what if the interest conflict among different shareholders, the sectors? How can we deal with that? Scholars asked if there are further research or academic paper that they can read. Oh my God. I share one of the framework I particularly used in this talk. So here's the Q&A section.
That's a really interesting presentation with lots of things to think about. You're talking about everything very well. Do we have a highly conviction from your source that with better tools of paper or have spoken about that on any thing about that? The last part that I draw is about the language is the most powerful places to stand. I would recommend to check out a system researcher called Meadows. It's literally talk about if we want to create a social changes at this end, there are several leverage points. And the most powerful leverage point would be how we narrative and how we shape the problem is being seen, and followed by the different system infrastructure, different intervention, and then all the way come to government see that, which means like different actors involved in this problem, how they coordinate things and resources together. So definitely highly recommend paper from Meadows.
My question is, given the fact that a lot of policies are being shaped by donors, just to go ground reality within the three actors, can you recommend any paper from which we can, in a way, transfer the agenda powers to the community that we call design element that policy part of it?
Right. Let me go back to the third coast. The sector who has the power to shape the regulations mainly lean on public sector. But I believe like those two sectors do have different kinds of power to do so, because at the end of the day, if we believe that civil society is the owner of a community, owner of the country, and we still can do a lot of things to influence that. So the donors, where the money comes from, is actually here. I don't know which country or region, but I will assume that in individual level, we can always support the business that who are actually have shared the same values. Individually, you can have some power or some pressure on the sector as well. So for the third party, they are the fighters in individual level. You want to support the initiatives or the programs, join them, and not just like making donations, but also join their conversation, join the events they're holding to see how people do good things together. I feel like the importance of community and also have that solidarity to targeting certain problems and all the way influence the policy. That would be the key.
I hope that answered. I have the questions. I heard a lot in your presentation about developing a collective identity and working as a collective and recognizing each and that can be strong in your idea of the ecology and what all like linking a bit to the previous presentation, what happened if the interests are divergent? Have you had an experience of seen actually the interest despite different speaking? And how does your framework deal with whether it's more knowledge?
That's a very interesting question because I'm very grateful. The work experience that I have, like eventually come to collaborations at the end. But now I'm working for my own design studio, and then I facilitate a lot of business to combine their brand identity and business model together. When do the discovery call, I do find that some business, they are not that care about the long term because they just want to selling products, doing this and that to make a great fortune. And that most of the time we end up not cooperating. I think that's what Jessica mentioned about like the interest conflict. But instead of like looking at the people that we always making a conflict with, I rather focus on the people who would love to work together because that's the part we can control. So if some other parties that they are not so willing to work this together, I would just like, you do you, we will do we deal. I think once the idea is become valid and concrete enough, most of the time they are willing to on board because that become from the substream all the way to mainstream. So that's the time that they can stop to say, hey, I'm not.
Yeah. Approaching to the end of this episode, I hope you enjoyed the talk and the Q&A section so far. If you have any thoughts, idea, or takeaway that you would love to share with me, please feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn. Search YUWENHUANG. My name is Yu-Wen Huang from Taiwan. I will see you on LinkedIn. I hope you enjoyed this episode and have a great day.
Every sector that wants to do good things for the society, but why it is so hard to find the sweet spot in the middle to solve the problem together and create solution together,